Namaskar, good evening viewers. You're watching Sansad TV's live broadcast at 9 p.m. This is The News with me, Bhawna Nayar. Over the next 30 minutes, we bring you a roundup of all national and international news that you need to know. Let's begin with the top 5 headlines we are tracking this hour. Proceedings disrupted in both houses of Parliament. MP Sanjay Singh suspended from Rajya Sabha till Friday. Opposition leaders meet Speaker Om Birla. Lok Sabha approves National Anti-Doping Bill. Government approved 1.64 lakh crore package for revival of BSNL, decides to merge BSNL and Bharat Broadband Network Limited. Second day of 5G spectrum auction, bids worth Rs 1.49 lakh crore so far. 9th round of bidding continues. Supreme Court upholds stringent provisions of Prevention of Money Laundering Act, rules that ED has right to arrest, raid and summon. Says ECI are not mandatory at the time of arrest. Third round of questioning of Sonia Gandhi in National Herald case, Congress leaders hold protests. And after the headlines, let us now have a look at some more important news of the day. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar to leave on a 2-day visit to Uzbekistan from 28 July to attend SCO Council of Foreign Ministers. Coal production to reach 1,000 million tons by next year, says Coal Minister Pralhad Joshi. Nation pays tributes to former President Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam on his 7th death anniversary. Centre denies considering transport of spent nuclear fuel to Russia from the Kudankulam nuclear power plant. MOS and PMO Dr. Jitendra Singh says India follows closed fuel cycle to fully utilize spent nuclear fuel. 83rd Raising Day of CRPF celebrated. Prime Minister Modi greets CRPF personnel and their families on the occasion. MOS Home Nityanand Rai in a written reply in Rajya Sabha says statehood to J&K will be restored at an appropriate time. Indian economy reflecting sustained growth momentum despite global economic adversities, asserts Union Minister Piyush Goyal in the Lok Sabha. China warns US ahead of Nancy Pelosi's Taiwan visit in August. Railway employees in United Kingdom on strike over pay, job security and working conditions. And strong tremors of 7.3 magnitude felt in northern Philippines. Earthquake caused cracks in buildings in capital Manila. And tonight's top lead story. Opposition parties held protest in the Lok Sabha even on Wednesday on the issues of price rise, GST and suspensions of 4 members. The House was adjourned twice due to disruptions. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla started question hour at 11 a.m. amid sloganing by members of some opposition parties, including the Congress. Appealing to them to return to their places, Speaker Om Birla termed the uproar indecent. Parliamentary Affairs Minister Pralhad Joshi once again reiterated that the government is ready for discussion on the issue of price rise. The proceedings were adjourned first till 12 noon and then, when the protest did not subside, the lower house was adjourned till 2 p.m. Lok Sabha on Wednesday passed the National Anti-Doping Bill 2021 after discussion. The bill allows for the constitution of the National Anti-Doping Agency and National Dope Testing Laboratory to regulate anti-doping activities in sports. Union Sports Minister Anurag Thakur said the National Anti-Doping Bill will not only help sports and sportspersons. Taking part in the discussion, MPs from various parties said awareness is an important aspect in the bill. Some members pointed out that the bill has no provisions to protect data while taking samples.
ये बिल खेलों और खिलाड़ियों के कल्याण के लिए है और ये लगातार सर हमारा ये प्रयास रहेगा कि जो सिल्वर मेडल जीतने के से लेके बाकी गोल्ड मेडल जीतने का काम हुआ है सर ये अच्छी दिशा में काम हो रहा है। सभी राज्यों की सरकारें भी अपनी ओर से प्रयास कर रही हैं।
Leaders of various opposition parties met Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu on Wednesday. The MPs sought the withdrawal of the suspensions of 20 members from the upper house. They argued that the suspension should be withdrawn to ensure sufficient presence of members in the house. However, the chairman made it clear that suspension would be withdrawn only if the suspended members expressed regret for their misbehavior. Pralhad Joshi, leader of the House, Piyush Goyal and Minister of State for Parliamentary Affairs V. Muralidharan were also present at the meeting. Proceedings in the Rajya Sabha continue to be disrupted even on Wednesday. Aam Aadmi Party MP Sanjay Singh was suspended till Friday for what was described as unruly behaviour in the House. According to Deputy Chairman Harivansh, AAP MP Sanjay Singh was suspended from Rajya Sabha for the remaining part of the current week for shouting slogans, tearing papers and throwing them toward the chair on Tuesday. Minister of State for Parliamentary Affairs V. Muralidharan had moved a motion in this regard. The House accepted the motion by voice vote.
Sanjay Singh be suspended from the services of the House for the remaining part of the current week for his unruly behavior, unbecoming of a member of Rajya Sabha yesterday, the 26th July 2022, by shouting slogans from the well of the House, tearing some papers and throwing them towards the chair, thereby disregarding the authority of the chair and bringing disrepute to this august House.
256 के तहत माननीय संजय जी आपका निलंबन हुआ है। आपसे, आप वरिष्ठ सदस्य हैं, आग्रह है कि आप सदन को चलने दें और बाहर जाएं। आपकी कोई बात रिकॉर्ड पे नहीं जा रही है।
Moving ahead, Speaker of the Mozambique Assembly, Esperança Laurindo Francisco, is on a visit to India. She met Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu. Their discussions focused on strengthening parliamentary relations between the two countries. A memorandum of cooperation was signed during her meeting with Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla on Wednesday. The MOU is aimed at developing special relations and cooperation between the two parliaments based on the principles of equality, interest and mutual respect. Stating that the two countries have historical and friendly bilateral relations, Speaker Om Birla said the occasion marks the beginning of a new era of parliamentary relations between the two countries. Bids worth Rs 1.49 lakh crore had been received till the second day of 5G telecom spectrum auction. Telecom companies Reliance Jio, Bharti Airtel, Vodafone India are taking part in the auction. Gautam Adani-owned Adani Enterprises is also in the fray to buy 5G airwaves. On day one, the government confirmed spectrum bids worth Rs 1.45 lakh crore after 4 rounds. 72 GHz of spectrum worth Rs 4.3 lakh crore is up for auction. The auction is expected to net revenues ranging from Rs 70,000 crore to Rs 1 lakh crore. 5G services will help in providing very high-speed internet services. 5G services are 10 times faster than existing 4G services.
Pleasantly surprised, I am happy that there is very good competition. Now there is competition in 700 MHz band, 800 MHz band, 900 MHz band, 1800 MHz band, 2100 MHz band, 2500 MHz band, 3300 MHz band and 26 GHz band. There is good competition in almost all the across this table. We can see good demand.
Continuing with news from across the nation, the Supreme Court has upheld Enforcement Directorate's power of inquiry, arrest and attachment of property under the provisions of Prevention of Money Laundering Act 2002. The apex court said that it is not mandatory for ED officers to disclose the ground of arrest at the time of detaining an accused in a money laundering case. The Supreme Court bench said authorities under 2002 Act are not police officers as such, and the enforcement case information report cannot be equated with an FIR under the Code of Criminal Procedure. The Enforcement Directorate on Wednesday questioned Congress President Sonia Gandhi for over 3 hours. This was the third day of her deposition in the National Herald newspaper-linked money laundering case. She was given no fresh summons. Sonia Gandhi reached ED's office in Delhi at 11 a.m. accompanied by her daughter Priyanka Gandhi Vadra and son Rahul Gandhi. Sonia Gandhi left the ED office around 2 p.m. She has been questioned for over 8 hours in the last 2 appearances and faced about 65 to 70 questions. Earlier, the agency had questioned Rahul Gandhi for 5 days in the case. The Congress has slammed ED's action against its top leadership and termed it as political vendetta and harassment. Congress MPs also staged a dharna at Vijay Chowk in New Delhi to protest against Sonia's questioning. Now let's take a look at some stories that are making the news in other parts of the nation. The DGCA has ordered SpiceJet to operate only 50% of the sanctioned flights for 8 weeks. The move comes in the wake of the airline reporting several incidents of technical snags. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has said the country's economic prowess is reflected in the field of ammunition. At a program organised by FICCI, he added that India should focus on increasing research and development and increasing production capacity in this area. An army jawan was injured in an encounter between terrorists and security forces in Jammu and Kashmir's Kulgam district. The Enforcement Directorate filed a charge sheet in the court against Delhi Minister Satyendra Jain and others in the money laundering case. Satyendra Jain is currently in judicial custody. Plastic-coated and laminated products like single-use cup plates have been banned in Maharashtra. The decision was taken in a meeting convened by Chief Minister Eknath Shinde. 18,313 new COVID-19 cases have been reported in the country in the last 24 hours. At the same time, the number of patients under treatment has come down to 1,45,000. And now news from the world of business and economy. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate India's first international bullion exchange known as India International Bullion Exchange in Gandhinagar on Thursday. This will give an impetus to financialization of gold in India. The PM will also lay the foundation stone of the headquarters of the International Financial Services Centres Authority. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will also accompany the PM during the visit. The Union Cabinet approved a Rs 1.64 lakh crore bailout package for BSNL, Telecom Minister Ashwini Vaishnav informed. He added that efforts are on to extend the coverage of 4G mobile services in nearly 25,000 villages and remote areas that are still outside its ambit. And TCS signed a multi-million-dollar deal with Marks & Spencer to digitize HR functions that are expected to provide a modern experience for M&S employees. TCS said the deal's success paved the way for greater inroads into the larger UK and European market. And talking about Sensex now, heavy buying in IT and banking stocks pushed the BSE Sensex up by 1%, with Sun Pharma, SBI and L&T garnering huge profits. NSE Nifty also jumped 1% on a day where most stocks, except those from telecom sector, making gains. Nasdaq led by the global markets recovery today with stocks rising by 2.3%. Market in Asia and Europe also looked steady with gains of up to 1%. Hang Seng and Shanghai, however, settled in the red. And slipping into a short break here, but on the other side, Russian Space Agency Roscomos announces withdrawal from the International Space Station after 2024. All this and much more just after this short break. You stay tuned to Sansad TV.
Parliament in session. Day's legislative business, debates and discussions. Catch the high points, all the updates on House Highlights, Monday to Friday at 10 p.m. only on Sansad TV.
We all know the importance of good health, but often we don't know how to achieve it. There's plenty of information available, but again, we don't know what is right and what is wrong. To know the truth and get your answers straight from some of India's top specialists, join me, Dr. Amrish Mittal, on Healthy India, only on Sansad TV.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching the news, and time now for all the big developments from the Russia-Ukraine war front. Nearly 40,000 Russian soldiers have been killed since the start of the war on 24th February, and tens of thousands more were wounded and maimed, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said. He also said that for 4 months, Russia has not communicated to its citizens any information about its losses in the war. UK's Defence Ministry has said that Russian private military company Wagner Group has likely made tactical advances in Ukraine's eastern Donbas region. The ministry stated that some Ukrainian forces had likely withdrawn from the area around the Vohihiriska power plant. Ukraine is seeking a deal for $15 to $20 billion program with the International Monetary Fund before the year end to help boost its war-torn economy. Ukraine's central bank governor Kyrylo Shivensko said that Kyiv has already submitted its request to the IMF. He also expressed hope for swap line agreement with Bank of England within weeks. Ukraine is facing a 35 to 45% economic contraction in 2022. Ukrainian troops have struck a strategic bridge near the Dnieper River in the Kherson region late on Tuesday. The bridge is essential for Moscow to supply its forces occupying the country's south. The 1.4-kilometer bridge sustained serious damage in Ukrainian shelling last week. It was closed for trucks but had remained open for passenger vehicles until the strike late on Tuesday. Ukrainian First Lady Olena Zelenska has appeared on a special digital cover issue of Vogue. Titled Portrait of Bravery, the cover shows Zelenska sitting on marble steps inside the presidential office compound in Kyiv. In the article, she talked about the impact of war and expressed confidence of winning the war against Russia. Russian Space Agency Roscomos has announced its withdrawal from the International Space Station after 2024. The move has raised several questions to the existence of the International Space Station after Russia's withdrawal, as it is highly dependent on the Russian modules. Have a look at this report.
Russia has decided to withdraw from the International Space Station after 2024. Russia's new space chief, Yuri Borisov, told President Vladimir Putin on Tuesday that they will now focus on building a Russian space station.
Вы знаете, что мы ведем работу в рамках международного сотрудничества на Международной космической станции. Безусловно, все свои обязательства мы выполним перед нашими партнерами, но решение и уход с этой станции после 2024 года принят. Я думаю, что к этому времени мы начнем формировать российскую орбитальную станцию. Я считаю, что будущее российской пилотируемой космонавтики в первую очередь должно базироваться на взвешенной и системной научной программе.
Space cooperation was one of the few areas where ties between Russia and the United States had been unharmed by the war in Ukraine. Russia and the United States have worked together on the ISS since 1998.
We've seen their public comments, but I can tell you that the Russian government has not formally notified the United States of any intention to withdraw from the International Space Station. I can also let you know, I mean, we are exploring options, of course, to mitigate any potential impacts on the International Space Station beyond 2024, if in fact Russia withdraws.
The International Space Station has been approved to operate until 2024, as per the current agreements. However, the US and its partners have been seeking to extend the station's life to 2030. The future of the 24-year-old space station now hangs in balance, as it is designed in a way that makes the partners dependent on each other. Russia operates 6 of the 17 modules of the ISS. While the US side of the ISS provides the power, the Russian side provides the propulsion and keeps the platform from falling to Earth. With Russia pulling out, the US and its other partners, including Europe, Japan and Canada, will have to find solutions to Russian modules. NASA, however, said it had not yet received any official notice of Russia's intention to withdraw from the program. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
Moving now, tens of thousands of people who evacuated from Ukraine's eastern Donetsk region are returning to their homes close to the front line because they can't afford to live in safer places. 70% of those who evacuated have come home. How is the life there and their dangers associated with it? Here's a report.
Kramatorsk is an hour's drive from the front line. Its population dropped to 50,000 from over 2.3 lakh in the weeks following Russia's invasion. Today, it has risen to 68,000. Every day, a train takes evacuees to relatively safer western Ukraine. Another daily train brings back the displaced who are returning home. But while the evacuation train is free, the return journey is not. Tamara Markova and her son Mykola returned home on the outskirts of Kramatorsk after spending just 5 days at Evacuees in Dnipro this month. The displaced making the journey back to their homes near the front line are risking their lives. One 35-year-old woman was killed by a missile outside her home just 2 days after returning. Ukrainian authorities are frustrated that civilians still remain in the path of war, but residents in the Donetsk region are frustrated too. Some describe feeling unwelcome as Russian speakers among Ukrainian speakers in some parts of the country. But more often, the problem is the lack of money to start anew. Tens of thousands of people have returned to rural or industrial communities close to the front line because they can't afford to live in safer places. Karina Samulska returned to Pakrovsk a month after evacuating. One of the reasons for coming back was that a restaurant reopened in her hometown offered her employment as a waitress. Now, at age 18, she's her family's main money earner. People want to be where they feel at home, she explains. They want to be at home, inside their own walls, in their own town, their own streets. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
Time now for some other global updates. Even as record-breaking summer temperatures scorched Europe, parts of the Greenland ice sheet have seen their own mini heat wave. Scientists working at a remote Arctic research base 9,000 feet above sea level estimate the Greenland ice sheet to have lost 6 billion tons of water per day between 15 to 17 July, enough to fill 7.2 million Olympic-sized swimming pools.
After 3 years of abandonment due to the COVID pandemic, researchers have returned to the East Greenland Ice Core project, a remote Arctic research base high up on the Greenland ice sheet. As Europe sweltered in a record-breaking heat wave, scientists here saw temperatures rise to 1.6 degrees Celsius, close to melting point on 18th of July. The warm temperatures disrupted logistics at the base, as military airplanes that service the base couldn't take off or land due to the warm weather. Greenland's massive ice sheet is one of the more visible signs of global warming from the burning of fossil fuels. Scientists say that if the entire ice sheet were to melt, which could take centuries, it could add over 6 meters to global sea levels. Experts believe that about half the sheet's mass is being lost below its frozen surface through fast-flowing ice streams that discharge directly into the ocean. Understanding how these streams behave could help them better predict future sea level rise. That's why researchers here are drilling deep into the sheet and extracting ice core samples to study back in labs in Germany and Denmark. They hope to eventually drill through the entire 2,550-meter ice sheet and hit bedrock. Greenland's ice melting season normally runs from June to August. According to an August 2020 study, Greenland lost a record amount of ice during an extra warm 2019. The melt was massive enough to cover California in more than 4 feet of water. The global goal of limiting warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius since pre-industrial times could mean 6 degrees Celsius up here. The scientists don't expect to hit bedrock this summer. But next year, they plan to return and learn more about this huge melting mass. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
And more international news from across the globe now. Indonesian President Joko Widodo met Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida in Tokyo. Kishida expressed his intention to support the improvement of maritime security capabilities to ensure peace and security in the waters around Indonesia. A wide range of issues like energy, investment and trade were also discussed. Peru's Congress-elected lady Camono, new president of Congress after a vote in Lima. She assured her cooperation with the Public Prosecutor's Office investigating President Pedro Castillo's for corruption. Camono, a member of APP party, became president of the legislature with the support of the FPP. The legislature has tried to remove the president twice this year. While the swearing-in was taking place inside the Congress, many people started to protest outside, mocking the Congress. Tunisians overwhelmingly voted in favor of a new constitution in a referendum. Tunisia's Electoral Commission said 94.6% of the votes backed the new constitution, with 5.4% against. The text was proposed and revised by Tunisian President Kais Saied himself. This new political system will see sweeping executive powers given to the president and the removal of key checks and balances, including weakening the influence of Tunisia's parliament and judiciary. More than 1,000 Lufthansa flights were cancelled on Wednesday because of a one-day strike by airlines' ground staff in Germany. The strikers and unions are demanding higher wages for all staff in Germany. About 134,000 passengers had to change their travel plans or cancel them altogether. Philippines was struck by a 7-magnitude earthquake with its epicenter in Abra province. 4 deaths and dozens of injuries were reported. The earthquake set off landslides and many houses and buildings were badly damaged. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. assured that everything that can be done is being done. And time now for all the sporting action. The 22nd Commonwealth Games are starting in Birmingham tomorrow. The multi-sport event will take place from 28 July to 8 August 2022. India have sent over 200 member contingent for the Games. England beat Sweden 4-0 to reach the final of Women's Euro 2022. In the second semi-final tonight, Germany will take on France. KL Rahul will miss the entire T20I series against West Indies as he was being asked to take further rest after having tested positive for COVID-19 last week. Sri Lanka have set a target of 508 for Pakistan to win the second test played at Galle. The home team declared their second innings at 360 for 8. Pakistan were 89 for 1 at stumps on day 4. Renowned mental conditioning coach Paddy Upton has said he is excited and privileged to rejoin the Indian cricket team for a short-term contract till the T20 World Cup in Australia later this year. And that's a wrap of today's Bulletin The News. Thank you for watching. For more updates, keep watching Sansad TV. Till then, good night. Namaskar.